The Ukrainian soldiers emerged from the ruined house at gunpoint, one with arms raised in surrender to the Russian troops, and lay face down in the grass. Two drones, one Ukrainian and one Russian, recorded the scene from high above the southern Ukrainian village of Piatykhatky. The Associated Press managed to get both videos. They offer very different versions of what happened next. The Ukrainian drone video, which AP obtained from European military officials, shows soldiers with Russian uniform markings raising their weapons and shooting each of the four Ukrainians in the back with such ferocity that one man was left without a head. The footage of the Russian soldiers opening fire on the unarmed Ukrainian soldiers has been blurred by the Associated Press due to the graphic nature of the images. Out of all the executions that we've seen since late 2023, it's one of the clearest cases, said Rollo Collins of the Center for Information Resilience, a London group that specializes in visual investigations, and reviewed the video at AP's request. This is not a typical combat killing. This is an illegal action. The Russian drone video, which Associated Press located on pro-Kremlin social media, cuts off abruptly with the men lying on the ground alive. As a result of the work done by our guys, the enemy decided not to be killed and came out with their hands up, wrote a Russian military blogger who posted the video. Two videos. Two stories. In one, the prisoners appear to live. In the other, they die. As evidence of potential war crimes in Ukraine continues to mount, many in Ukraine worry that the Trump administration's about-face on the war will make it more difficult to establish a firm historical narrative about what has happened since Russia's 2022 invasion and whether those most responsible for atrocities will ever be held accountable. On March 13, the day European officials say the incident in Piatykhatky took place, U.S. representatives landed in Russia for ceasefire talks with President Vladimir Putin.
So there's two groups of people. There's the Russians and the Ukrainians. The Ukrainians have been taken out of a building. They're lined up outside the building. They're briefly searched by several of the Russians. These Russians then wait for further two more Russian soldiers to join them, at which point they answer something on the radio, perhaps, wait for a moment, and then they begin spraying fire into these soldiers. After the initial barrage of fire is completed, at least two of these Russian soldiers go up to each of the soldiers and finishes them off. This is not a typical assault on a position and overwhelming the enemy. This case is a fairly methodical and surgical clearing out of a building. The soldiers are unarmed. They're no threat to these Russian soldiers. They're taken outside and then they're executed. This is not in the typical laws of war. This is not something that we'd expect to see between two conventional forces. So no, our assessment is quite clear. This is not a typical combat killing.
Since last August, we've documented a startling spike in the number of executions of captured Ukrainian service persons. We've documented the killings of 91 captured Ukrainian soldiers in 29 separate incidents. So it's a really concerning increase. We've seen calls on social media by Russian officials for the killings or the torture of Ukrainian prisoners of war. We've also documented direct orders or endorsements of reported executions by military groups linked to the Russian armed forces, with these endorsements or orders shared publicly. In 2023, the Russian Federation adopted broad laws which essentially exempted Russian military personnel from accountability for certain acts, which would include acts of torture, killings of this nature. And these exemptions were further broadened or expanded in 2024. So we look at these different factors combined. Calls on calls on social media by public officials, amnesty laws, dehumanizing language, within the context of impunity for these acts. It's contributing to an environment that allows such acts or these crimes to take place.
Despite another wild day on Wall Street, with U.S. stocks veering from a huge gain at the opening of trading to more losses at the close, President Donald Trump told a Republican gathering Tuesday evening that we're taking in a fortune in tariffs. Investors are still trying to determine what to make of Trump's trade war, which is scheduled to kick into a higher gear after midnight. Trump told the Republican dinner event that he's been told that the U.S. is taking in $2 billion a day in tariffs. $2 billion a day. Do you believe it? I was told $2 billion a day, he said. In addition, we have a lot of countries coming to see us, they want to make a deal. The big question remains centered on how long Trump will keep his stiff tariffs on other countries, which would raise prices for U.S. shoppers and slow the economy. If they last a long time, economists and investors expect them to cause a recession. But if Trump lowers them through negotiations relatively quickly, the worst-case scenario can be avoided. Trump also spoke about the state of his big, beautiful bill of tax breaks and spending cuts that lawmakers are hammering out on Capitol Hill. According to Associated Press, House Speaker Mike Johnson finds himself in a familiar jam, with conservative Republican holdouts stalling action on the legislation. Those House Republicans are refusing to accept a Senate GOP budget framework approved over the weekend because it doesn't cut enough. Trump summoned House Republicans to the White House for a Tuesday meeting. But many Republicans left unmoved. Next steps are uncertain. There are a couple of Republicans out there, you just got to close your eyes and get there. It's a phenomenal bill, he said. Stop grandstanding. Trump summoned House Republicans from the Conservative Freedom Caucus to the White House for what was described as a contentious midday meeting. Despite Trump's push, some of the Republicans told the president they could not support the Senate package without a commitment to steeper cuts.
We're making a fortune with tariffs, $2 billion a day. Do you believe it? I was told $2 billion a day. You know, I get hit by the press about tariffs. We're making $2 billion. This isn't 35 million, that's peanuts. $2 billion a day. And then they say, gee, they don't know. You know, this is only the enemy can be talking this way. In addition, we have a lot of countries coming to see us. They want to make a deal. It's so important that we pass the big, beautiful bill, because that's going to be, and I really think we're helped a lot by the tariff situation that's going on, which is a good situation, not a bad. It's great. It's going to be legendary. You watch, legendary in a positive way, I have to say. It's going to be legendary. But I really think it actually puts pressure on those few Republicans that just can't get there. You know what the alternative is? A Democrat bill or a chapter for the country. You know, we have the debt continuation, and they have to do this. They have to get there, and I think we are there. We had a great meeting today. I think we are there. But just in case there are a couple of Republicans out there, you just got to get there. Close your eyes and get there. It's a phenomenal bill. Stop grandstanding. Just and the alternative is hell. You know, the alternative is hell. So the Republicans, just that one little thing the Republican Party has to do is get together and damn vote. If you're a single guy or a second guy, and you fight like hell for what you get, and then in the end you have to vote because the policy is phenomenal. You know, they don't get every little ounce. It doesn't work that way. And this bill that we're working on now is the best I think we've ever passed. Mike, wherever you may be, it's the best. I think it's the best thing we'll get it passed. But I think it's going to be the most important thing we've ever passed. It's the best thing we've ever passed. And I do think that the war with the world, which is not a war at all, because they're all coming here. Japan is coming here as we speak. They're in a plane flying, lots of them, all tough negotiators. But things that people wouldn't have given us 2 years ago, wouldn't have even thought of it 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 7, they're giving us everything. They don't want tariffs on themselves. And it's very simple. We're making deals, and people are paying tariffs. Countries are paying tariffs. Right now, China's paying a 104% tariff. Think of it, 104%. Now, it sounds ridiculous, but they charged us for many items 100%, 125%. Many countries have. They've ripped us off left and right. But now it's our turn to do the ripping. That's okay. We're going to make our country even stronger, stronger than it ever was. And 26 Republicans will fight for every state, every seat, and every single vote. We're going to fight like hell. I had somebody say the most successful first month in the history. Now they said the most successful 100 days about the baseball game where, I mean, he was really, the doctor told me, sir, I've never had anybody lose so much blood. It's not looking good.